Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery here. We get together with our distribution partners and now our clients most weekday mornings, 8 o'clock Central, to talk shop, talk about strategies, tips, techniques, share success stories, and support each of you. Historically, we've been holding these Zoom webinars primarily just for our referral partners, but based upon some great recommendations, we decided to invite our clients as well. So welcome all, regardless of which hat that you're wearing. Today is, I guess you would consider part 3 of a 3-part training. So back on Wednesday of this week, which would have been July 5th, we held the initial training, which is now here on your website. So granted, you're looking at our website, but each of you that are a small business consultant, we have provided you a free replicated site, looks just like this. You have your own link. And so the training from Wednesday, which we'll call part 1, is now parked on your website. And this is a good introduction to what are these primary trade lines and such. Then we followed up yesterday on Thursday, July 6th, with a deeper dive. And the primary focus on this training is what are the 10 things that make this primary trade line different than others in the marketplace? Because I think you and I are going to be the first to admit the $100,000 primary trade line is not the right fit for everyone. But through education, through transparency, through financial literacy, we can educate individuals and help them make a good decision for themselves and for their businesses. So if you've not watched these 2 trainings, and I'd say even more than watch, if you've not studied these 2, then you may be not as prepared as you could be or should be in helping small businesses with this tool. Now, some people say, well, is this a change in direction of our organization? No, Guaranteed Funding is a nonprofit organization. Our primary goal is to help improve the credibility of small businesses so they qualify for funding. And so what we've done is we've continued to evolve and offer resources and solutions to help overcome the problems that we see clients typically have. Well, with the primary trade line, as we've covered in the trainings, it solves primarily 2 problems. And this is very important that you understand its role. The first problem that the $100,000 primary trade line can solve is when individuals have a less than ideal personal credit profile. So that would usually mean either they don't have enough positive credit reporting, so they don't look strong enough, and or they have too high of revolving utilization, which makes them look more distressed. It shows a high utilization, and that also reduces their score. So for those individuals, adding a $100,000 primary trade line can dramatically improve their personal credit profile and thus improve their access to capital. So that's one of the 2 reasons that we've incorporated this. The second is from the business side. We work a lot, to no surprise, with entrepreneurs, owners of small businesses. Sometimes these are early stage where they're not even formed yet. Sometimes they're startup, sometimes existing. But typically what they're looking for is access to capital. Well, what you and I know and what we teach and what we preach is that you can't just want capital. You can't just want money. You can't just want funding. You have to qualify for it. So one element, not the only element, but one element that lenders will often look at when a business is wanting funding is, have they had extensions of credit before, and have they paid on time? So in other words, do they have a credit profile, and is it a good one? Well, that's the second primary benefit that you and I bring to the marketplace with the $100,000 primary trade line, because innovatively it reports both on the personal credit, if the client wants, and business credit, if the client wants. So they're kind of getting a 2-for-1. They don't have to pay extra. And of course, we don't even sell the trade lines. The trade lines are free. But the bottom line is those are the two main audiences that you and I are helping. So this certainly doesn't suggest that this is the right fit for everyone. I was asked yesterday after the morning Zoom, well, what's a good example of an alternative? Well, I would say that if you have a client, or if it's you yourself, we'll just assume that you're a distribution partner. If you have a client that is looking to strengthen their credit portfolio, let's look at the personal side first, and then we'll go over to the business side. They want to strengthen their personal credit profile. They could just go to American Express, for example, and as long as they're strong enough, they could apply for a $100,000 revolving account from American Express. That post on their personal credit that will reduce the revolving utilization. But for that to happen, there's a few prerequisites, right? Those individuals are going to have a really strong credit score to begin with and really high income to get approved for such a high credit limit. Well, what you and I do with the $100,000 primary trade line is that there are no income requirements and there are no credit requirements. So anyone can get this. But the point is, there's other alternatives to getting primary trade lines. Another topic that came up yesterday during the training, and then there was some follow-up, is based around, I think, a failure to understand at the core what is a primary trade line. And we cover that in this training, but just to summarize, a primary trade line is accomplished credibly, legally, and effectively by going through the following steps. Step 1, apply for credit. Step 2, get approved for credit. Step 3, use the credit. Step 4, credit is reported. So you don't legitimately and credibly and legally go buy a trade line, right? You apply for a trade line, you get approved for a trade line, and then you can use it. Well, what are examples of trade lines? Well, of course, there's what we offer. You could go buy a house, right? And the mortgage would report. That is considered a trade line, but that's a significant commitment. You could go buy a car, and then it would report, assuming you financed it, on your credit report. You could go open that $100,000 American Express. So I think some people think, oh, I'll just pay for a trade line, like you're gaming the system. You and I don't want to be involved with gaming the system, because that has some credibility issues and possibly some legal issues. So we all need to understand, how do we get primary trade lines? We apply, we get approved, we use it, and it reports. Now, on the business side, it's a little bit different. You and I are going to frequently run into small business owners that want to add trade lines. Well, often what they're faced with is going and getting net 30. So they'll go to companies like Uline and Granger and these other what's considered starter net 30 accounts, and they'll have to go buy some toilet paper or a shovel or something, and then Uline or Granger or what have you will then report it as a net 30 account. Well, that's not a terrible solution, but it's not an equally good solution for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's a net 30 account, so it means that full amount's due in 30 days. It's not a true revolving account like what this is. And then secondly, Uline, Granger, these other net 30 accounts are probably going to only approve a business for maybe 3,000, maybe 5,000, maybe as much as 10,000, but the norm would be 3,000 to 5,000. Well, that is a little trade line. And as we've talked about on other trainings here, the size of the trade lines that you add matters, because the bigger that you have, the more that you'll qualify going forward. So with that being said, our goal today is to have an open forum to answer questions, concerns that each of you have, regardless if you're a client or a distribution partner, or maybe just a prospective client or a prospective distribution partner. Again, if you've watched these two training videos, you'll have a strong foundation to build off of, but we're going to open it up for your questions. and you'll just type that into the question and answer box of Zoom. It's kind of like a chat box. So please go ahead and post those. All right, Samuel's got the first question, and he says, well, if he's interested, how does he move forward? So if you actually scroll to the bottom of this page, we have the form. It's an information request, obviously putting name, email, phone. Let us know anything you want us to know. But essentially, we need to know, what is your request, Samuel? Are you interested in the $100,000 trade line for yourself? Then you check the top box, obviously. And or are you wanting to be one of our, what we would call resellers or distribution partners? And there's no cost for that. And that's the second box. And of course, you could check both boxes. You submit that, it comes into us, and then we can process it. So Samuel had probably the most practical question anyone could have is, okay, if I'm interested, what happens then? All right, Teresa asked, what if she wants to talk to someone about this? Absolutely. And so there's a couple options. Our phone number is on the website, but also what would be even better is submit an information request and put in a message. Hey, I'd like someone to call me to visit about it. So, and then also let us know what you're wanting to talk about, which of these two. All right, some great practical questions early on. My goal today isn't to be redundant in covering what has, I believe, adequately been covered in these past 2 days trainings that, again, are on our website and also on your free replicated website. So what other questions, comments, concerns do any of you have? Because our approach, it's legal, it's ethical, it's clever, but it's different than what most people think about. Most people have a misconception, not really of the value of trade lines. I think any legitimately educated, financially educated person understands having trade lines on their personal and or business credit reports is important. And it's crucial to qualify for larger funding amounts. But questions that anyone has? All right, so Carrie's asking, is this a real trade line? Well, sure, it's a real trade line that is usable. It's not just a wink, wink, here's a $100,000 trade line that you can't use. Because you have to remember, when this was set up, it had to be compliant. It needs to be credible. Of course, it needs to be legal. And so we're not going to just use words that sound good, but that aren't real. So yes, it's a real $100,000 primary trade line that the participant is able to use. They literally have access to $100,000. Questions or concerns? Alfred's asking, is there anyone that wouldn't be qualified? Well, over the past couple days, as we mentioned, we officially rolled this out on Wednesday, and then we dug deeper yesterday on Thursday. We've been averaging 100 to 120 enrollments a day. So it's taken off very quickly, whereby there's a big demand for credible primary trade lines. There are some applicants that we don't approve, and that's typically when they provide us inaccurate or malicious information. And then that sounds kind of obvious, but that's really the only reason that someone wouldn't get approved, because it says everyone gets approved. I guess there should be an asterisk if they provide accurate information. Like we had someone that was an international client yesterday or last night applied. The information that they provided was not seemingly accurate, so that application was declined. But that's rare. That's not the norm. In general, yeah, everyone's approved. Just provide us an accurate application so we can implement, of course. All right. Terry's asking how this might fit into doing workshops or financial literacy in person or online. Well, I'm with you. I think there's a huge need to educate and to help people improve their financial literacy. So we do have a number of educational messages that are available in PowerPoint you could go out and use. There's not yet one on this specifically. Now, certainly you could take the information that exists from these 2 training videos and build something, but at this time we don't have a PowerPoint deck that's ready to go out to the Chamber of Commerce or the local library and teach. That's forthcoming, because I think that we could have a tremendous impact in helping more people, and of course you making more money the more we educate, but creating awareness is crucial. His follow-up to that, and it's a good point, in the second training, the training yesterday, we talked about referrals. So number one, we can provide leads. So if you're one of our small business consultants and you want they're free leads, we can certainly provide you free leads. So that's not a problem. But I'll reiterate what we discussed yesterday. Without doubt, the best source of leads for the $100,000 primary trade line are credit repair professionals, because they're involved with working with people and improving credit, and their focus typically is disputing and or some other method of removing derogatory items. So that's fine, they do that. But what they know and what you know and what I know is that if we don't also add positive as well as removing negative, we won't have an optimal score. So credit repair professionals that are maybe solo operators, small, medium, or large. I was mentioning to one of you yesterday, I was contacted by the CEO of one of the largest credit repair companies, not the largest, but one of the top 10 largest in the country. And so I literally went to his office. We sat in his office and talked about these strategies, because credit repair professionals understand the need and the power of primary trade lines. Another excellent audience would be anyone that is involved with helping small businesses build business credit, whereby typically, again, the arrows in their quiver are usually based around net 30 accounts. And even if it's not net 30 accounts, even if they're helping clients add business credit cards. So I'm not saying that that's not valuable, but in addition to that, I would strongly suggest that you educate them on the $100,000 primary trade line, because it does report on under the EIN, builds the business credit worthiness, and it's just a larger amount, because size does matter when it comes to trade lines. Because this trade line is meant not only to deliver the proposition that we've talked about, but also make that business look as strong as possible. So when they apply for business funding, they're more likely to get approved. And I think it's just intuitive. It just makes sense that take 2 companies, and let's say you have an early stage company, we'll call them a startup. The SBA considers any business less than 2 years old a startup, but we'll just say an early stage business. One of them has this trade line and one of them doesn't, and they want to apply for funding. Who has, all other things being equal, which one of those 2 have a better likelihood of getting approved for a large business loan? Obviously, the one that has the $100,000 primary trade line, because the lender during their underwriting is looking at the business credit profile, and they see that the business, the applicant in this case, has had access to credit and managed it properly. So it's huge. It's huge. All right. So who else has questions on this? Okay. Xavier's asking, how does he get paid? And that's a fair question. And we covered that in the prior trainings, but I'm happy to answer it for Xavier now. So if you're one of our distribution partners, number one, you get to pick your own compensation, your own commission. You pick how much you're paid for each trade line. So that makes it simple. So with that, you would attach a processing fee. And so many of you are going with a $500 processing fee, some higher, some lower, but it's up to you. So when you're introducing the trade line to a prospect or to a referral partner, they're going to know that there's a processing fee that they pay to you, and you keep 100% of that unless you're sharing it with a referral partner. And then there's also the $1,000 down payment on the trade line. So you're going to be collecting, if you're wanting to monetize this, 2 amounts from the client, the participant, the trade line participant. whatever your processing fee is, and the $1,000 down payment. You're going to keep the processing fee. You'll let us know that you have a client signed up. We will send you an invoice. You get the invoice, you pay it. So you're paying the down payment, you're keeping the processing fee, and then we implement. So the beauty with that is, number one, you're paid up front, right? You're not waiting a month or a week or even a day. You're getting paid directly up front. Secondly, you're getting to pick how much you're getting paid. And if you want to be flexible with them, you can. If you want to give it away, you can give it away. But you don't have any implementation responsibilities. Super simple. Each of you that are a small business consultant, you should have a replicated website that looks just like this. So you have information to be able to share with a prospect. And then also we have the flyer, which is not depicted here. We talked about it on the trainings. I forget which one of these. We showed you the flyer, but we can provide you that flyer that's personalized to you that you could use as well. And it reiterates this whole message. So between the flyer and your replicated website, that should be the only two marketing pieces that you need. And then if you're looking to do Craigslist postings or whatever else, you should be able to just extract from the content from either your replicated site, the videos on your site, and or the flyer. So you should be good to go. You shouldn't need anything else. So if you want to do a text blast, pull from that content. You want to do an email blast, pull from that. You're wanting to reach out to referral partners. The content should be already provided to you through your website, the videos on the website, and lastly, the flyer. And if you don't have the flyer, you need the flyer, just reach out to us and we'll make sure you have it. Who else has questions, comments, concerns? All right, Terry says, can we just send the flyer to everyone? Yes. So when I send the recording out later today, no later than tomorrow for today's training, I'll just go ahead and attach the flyer for everyone. So you all have the flyer. It's developed in Adobe, so you can use Adobe to modify it. All right, well, we're off to a fast start. This is not changing who we are or what we do, but this is a very valuable door opener, puts money in your pocket quickly, helps clients become better positioned for a capital raise. The other programs that we've talked about still exist. We're still doing those, but this is an important piece that could be the first. It could be the entry point for a client relationship whereby they start with this, or maybe you're starting them with a free funding proposal and they're coming in for that. And then we look at their credit and we realize that there are issues, and then we could always turn around and recommend the trade line if it would help them afterwards. That's your choice. As a distribution partner, I would be focusing on taking the trade line out to the marketplace. Once you have the client enrolled, then you could quickly turn around and ask, hey, I see you signed up for the trade line. That is awesome. Great. Tell me more about what you're wanting to do with that. Most likely they're going to say, hey, I'm looking to start or grow a business. And then you could say, well, you know what? You could actually get a free funding proposal. You could turn them around to this, and then this pays you 3 points of the client's capital raise. We guarantee them a minimum of 100,000. So 3 points, 3% of 100,000, you're making another 3,000 by doing that. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Otherwise, we will wish you a great day and a great weekend. We'll be back Monday morning, same time, same place. Let us know if there's anything that we can do for you. Thank you much. Have a good day. Bye.